Welcome back to the Guitar Learning Show. My name is Kevin, and today I'm going to show you an easy beginner version of the song In My Life by the Beatles. This song is going to use all down strums. We're going to learn the simple intro riff, and of course that riff gets repeated a little bit later in the song. And we're going to break down the chord changes very slowly. We'll have a link to a PDF version of the song with the tab and a chord chart in the description below. And if you would please hit the like and subscribe button, we would really appreciate it. So by the end of this video, you'll be able to play the intro to In My Life and the whole basic chord progression, including the verses and the bridges. And I'll show you chord shapes, we'll do slow transitions, and we'll do the riff, of course, that opens up the song. All right, let's grab our guitars and get to it. All right, so we are going to play this song in the key of A, and the Beatles played it at about 104 beats per minute. We're just going to play it slow, just to get a nice, get the chord progressions under our fingers and get a feel for making the changes. Okay, so the chords we're going to use are an A, E, F sharp minor, an A7 over G, which really is not as scary as it sounds, a D, D minor, G, B, and a D minor 7. And yes, that's 9 chords, although there's only a few of them that make up the bulk of the song, and I will go over some replacements for the additional chords, where, for instance, where we're using a D minor, we could really just continue with a D chord. It makes it easier. Where we're using D minor 7, we could use a D chord there also. And the A7 over G, we could finger that as just an A7, which is really just a 2-fingered version of an A chord. So anyway, let's take a minute and let's go over the chord fingerings, okay? So we have an open A, which is, this is how I play it. So I play it with my middle ring and pinky, because I've got fat fingers. I do sometimes play it with the index, middle, and ring, but usually I play it like this. So this is how I'm going to play it today. So we have the open A chord, if you can see how I've got that fingered. We have the A string is open, and then we have the D, G, and B strings are all fingered on the 2nd fret. And then another way you can finger it, and a lot of people do this, and that is you could bar the D, G, and B strings with your index finger. So we could do it like this. We could do it using the index to the ring, or we could just bar it with our index fingers. The best way to do it is whatever is most comfortable for you and whatever helps you make the transition to the next chord more efficient, more quicker. Okay, next chord is an E major, which for this song, I like to play the E major using my, my ring and my pinky and then my middle finger like this. And the reason I do this instead of using the index, which is probably how we've all been taught, I do this so that the chord after the E is the F sharp minor, okay? So I can just easily slide up here, pull my middle finger off, lay down my index and just bar the 2nd fret, and I've got my F sharp minor. Sometimes I will do this and then just go to the F sharp minor. Again, whatever you're most comfortable with. If you can go from this A to an E like this, then over to the F sharp minor like that, and that's better for you, then absolutely go for it. whatever works best for you. I'm just going to try to show little tips here and there that might make it easier or more efficient to transition between the chords. So, okay, so the A7 over G. All right. Now that is basically, you're going to put your middle finger on the low E string on the 3rd fret, which is your G. And that's going to just sit on the A string to mute it out. And then you're going to bar the D, G, and the B string for basically just an A chord. So that's it. So we're going from this F sharp minor right to this A7 over G. It's really not too difficult of a transition because you don't have to move. You're just, you're just staying right in that exact same position. You're laying that middle finger down, moving the index finger down here so that it starts fretting at the D string, and you got it, okay? And then from there, we're going to play just a normal open D chord, which is middle finger, 2nd fret of the high E string, ring finger, 3rd fret of the B, and then your index finger is going to be on the 2nd fret of the G string, and then of course your D string is open. And if you want to play the D minor, you can. If not, you can just continue and play the D. And when we go through the chords and the strumming, I'll show you what I mean. From this D, if you leave that ring finger down and just move the index in the middle, you place the index on the 1st fret of the high E, and you put the middle on the 2nd fret of the G string. And you can also play that open D up there or not play it. It doesn't matter. The chord is the root 3rd and the 5th. And that's the chord. Okay, and that's the D minor. And then our next chord is a G, although it's not next in the progression, just we're going to play a G. So our G chord is just the normal open G, which you can play with either the pinky down here on the high E string, the index on the 2nd fret of the A, and the middle on the 3rd fret of the low E. Or you can play it that same way, but you can put your ring finger down on the 3rd fret of the B string. For this song, in making the transitions, it might be easier to play the big G, which has all four of those fingers down. So we'll see what you think as we get further on into the lesson. I play the B as an A bar chord, so I'm grabbing this B note on the 2nd fret of the A string, and then I am barring the D, G, and B strings of the 4th fret with, you can use your ring finger. I use my pinky, but you do want to make sure you mute that high E to the D minor 7, and that is played by taking your index and just barring the 1st fret of the high E string and the B string, and then taking your middle finger and putting it on the 2nd fret of the G string. And that's your D minor 7. You can play the open D if you can finger that. That's still a D minor 7. I tend to push up on that open D so that I don't have any of my fingertip hitting this B string. So I tend to play it with just the 3 strings. All right, so the next thing I want to go over is the strumming. We're going to do all down strums for this song, and it's going to be just all quarter notes. We're going to keep it simple, and it's going to be 1 downstroke per beat. And basically, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, and you just play, you just strum your chord down for each beat, each number. For instance, if I'm playing the A chord, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's it. Now, it makes singing and chord changes a lot easier. I got into this song initially because of the opening riff. I really enjoy the opening riff. Now, I'm going to have the tab right down there on the screen. And then it goes right into the chord progression. Okay, so In My Life has 2 verses. And we're going to do a simplified progression for these verses. And both verses use the same chord progression. So that makes it a little bit easier for us. Now, even though each bar gets 4 downstrokes, each chord is going to get 2 strums, okay? Until you get to the last A, in which case that A is going to get 4 strums. So let me show you what I mean. And if you need to stop the video for a minute and practice playing through those chords, please do so. Okay, so the chords in the bridge are the F sharp minor, which we looked at that earlier. And then we're going to go to the D, open D, and then to the G. And I like to leave my ring finger anchored here, but you might want to play it just as a pinky. So I'm going to play the full G bar chord. And then over to an A. And then the second part of the bridge is a little bit different. So I'll go from this F sharp minor to the B. And then from the D minor 7, you're just going to go back to the open A. Now the good news about the bridge is it's 4 strums per chord, 4 strums to the bar. So we're going to play it like this. F sharp minor, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, A, 2, 3, 4, F sharp minor, 2, 3, 4, and B, 2, 3, 4, D minor 7, 2, 3, 4, and A, 2, 3, 4. And that's the bridge. And you play the bridge that exact same way every time. The last section of the song is it's the coda, and it's just a small section, and there's an A, an E, a D minor 7, and then it kind of stops when you sing that part, I love you more, and then it picks up again with A, E, and A, and then that's the end of the song. And the good news is that each of those chords gets 4 strums. There's not any quick chord changes like there is in the verse, okay? So let's play that. I love you more. And that is essentially the chords for the song. So the last part of this song is the outro. And the outro is basically the first riff of the intro and then a little bit of a change for the second riff of the intro. But you're basically playing the intro, it just finishes a little bit differently. So let's just go through it, okay? And that's essentially it. And of course, we'll have the tab right below. You can see it. And you can play that the way I just did, which is definitely the beginner way to do it. This can also be played using an E major 7 chord in the middle of it, and finishing up with an A chord. So let's give that a shot and see what that sounds like. And so it gives you a little more fuller ending with the two chords being thrown in there. However, playing it as just the notes sounds great too. Okay, so there's things that you want to do. One is you always want to be thinking ahead as to what you need to play next. So when you're playing the first A chord, you want to be thinking about the shape of your next chord. Eventually, that all becomes muscle memory. The more you play it, the more you just get used to making those changes. So in the beginning, you want to be thinking a little bit ahead and just know that while you're playing your A, that the next chord shape you're going to make is the open E, okay? I mentioned this in the beginning, but I think it's worth mentioning again. When you make that change from the A to the E, no matter how you're playing the A, you might want to use your pinky, your ring, and your middle finger to make that E. And then you can just slide up to that F sharp minor position. I mean, when you're playing bar chords, sometimes it's easier in general, if you have to play that open E, to use these fingers instead of using what we probably all learned in the beginning, which was using the middle ring and the index. Because if you're going to go from this to like an A chord or that F sharp minor, it's just more efficient and much easier to already have that part of the bar in place, okay? Or that part of the bar chord in place. Now, when I play that D, I'm going to leave my ring finger anchored on this third fret of the B string, okay? I'm going to bring my pinky down to the high E string, third fret, and then I'm going to put my index finger, second fret of the A, and my middle finger, third fret of the low E, and play my chord. And basically, the point here is I'm keeping my ring finger anchored. I'm using that as an anchor going from the D to the G. And it makes it more efficient, it makes it faster, and so on. Now, you don't have to play the big full G like that. And actually, some of the tab I've seen of the song is they're not playing that full G, they're just playing with the pinky on the high E. So I would say just play whatever's comfortable, whatever you enjoy, okay? And please don't forget the chord tips that I've given you, unless you already know them. But don't forget to use them, and maybe they'll be helpful, maybe they're not. Just give them a try. And one of them is the alternate fingering for the E chord. So you could slide over quickly to the F sharp minor. The other is the D to D minor, using that ring finger as an anchor. So going D to D minor. And then the other is going from D to G, and again, using that ring finger on that D note on the B string as an anchor finger, okay? And again, that's assuming you want to play the G that way. You might decide to play the G with just the pinky on the high E, the index on the second fret of the A string, and then the middle finger on the third fret of the low E. Either G is fine. So the progression of the song is we play the opening riff. And then it goes right into the chord progression. So it starts, there are places. And then another round of the verse chords and the singing. And then after verse 1, we go into the bridge, okay? Though I know I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before. I know I'll often stop and think about them. In my life, I've loved you more. So that's one of the bridges essentially. The lyrics do change in the different bridges, and then there's verse 2, and then after verse 2 there's bridge 2, and then after bridge 2 there's a solo, which we're not going to go over the solo because that's definitely not a beginner friendly. It's actually much faster paced, and we'll save the solo for a different lesson. But during the solo, the rhythm guitarist is playing the verse chords. So you're basically going to just do your verse chords times 2. So you'll play that twice, and then while that's going on, the lead guitarist, of course, playing the solo, and then from there, there's a third bridge, and then after that third bridge, you play the coda. So the last part of this song is the outro, and the outro is basically the first riff of the intro, and then a little bit of a change for the second riff of the intro. But you're basically playing the intro, it just finishes a little bit different. And I'll have a link in the description to the final song roadmap that has the song progression in it, the way I type it up when I'm first learning the song. Okay? All right, well, that's all I have for you today. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. I've enjoyed teaching it to you. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons, and take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next video.